If you've been listening to my podcast for a while, you know that I love having faith-based entrepreneurs on as guests. As a Christian myself, I've used faith to navigate the hard times I've had in business and life, and I love hearing how faith helps others navigate through their entrepreneurial journey. Today, I was joined by another faith-based entrepreneur and business coach, Judy Weber. Judy shares why faith is everything in business, why selling is noble, and why she thinks belief is the commonality between faith and business. Up next on the Scale with Joy show, Judy Weber. So many entrepreneurs dream of living a life of massive impact by creating a mega successful company, but only a tiny percentage of businesses actually scale to that point. And when they do, it is so often lacking the very joy and freedom that got them into entrepreneurship in the first place. So on this podcast, we speak authentically on what it actually takes to scale your business in a way that creates freedom and joy that works for you, your team, and the incredible impact that you are meant to make in the world as a visionary entrepreneur. My name is Laura Meyer, and I'm your host. I'm a serial entrepreneur, wife, mom to 3, and I love talking all things business, especially digging into what it actually takes to scale joyfully to the multi-million-dollar mark and beyond. Let's get started. Hi, everybody. I am here with Judy Weber. Judy is a women's business strategist and scaling expert. She is a boutique consultancy for women in business, and she is a faith-based entrepreneur. So we were just bonding on the different journeys that our careers have taken us over the years. So welcome, Judy. I'm so glad you're here.
Laura, thank you so much. I'm so excited to join you.
Yeah, and we really stand for a lot of the same things, which is joy and simplicity. You are a former corporate trial attorney, as well as a C-suite executive. So I'm sure you were living a very complicated life when you were pursuing those career paths, right?
Yeah, absolutely. When I first got out of law school, that was before marriage and kids. So the dedication to the firm, getting in there when the sun shines and staying until the sun goes down, that was good. But once you start having kids, that's not really a great life.
Yeah. It's so funny. We were just talking about that because I live in an area of the country where you used to live where a lot of people are attorneys, and what a tough lifestyle it is, particularly as you're raising kids. So you're very much now helping entrepreneurs up-level their mindset, step fully into their CEO role, and really create this legacy business without compromising their values. What made you decide to go from this traditional path to really being able to help other entrepreneurs?
Mm-hmm. Well, I will tell you that Jesus, I am a Christian, and that is front facing of my brand, right? I work with women of faith as they scale their business. But for me, even though I was that lawyer and I had all these great positions, I went in-house, my trial experience was very successful, I never felt fulfilled.
Yeah.
And it was always like Jesus was everything in me, but I couldn't really have that out in that world, of course. So when I was able to think about, well, what do I really want to do in my 40s? What I wanted to do was combine the two things I love, Jesus Christ and helping women. Mm-hmm. And coming together in the business world and specifically the entrepreneurial world to say they do not have to be compartmentalized. Your faith is huge when it comes to business.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I love that. And so how do you think that the faith component has helped your business? Is there any particular way in which you think that it has created a different path forward than otherwise?
Yeah, absolutely. Laura, faith is everything in business. I want to say this boldly, and I want all of your listeners to hear it. Okay. Every successful person that has ever been or that ever will be as an entrepreneur has one thing in common, and that is belief. It's faith. Mm-hmm. Faith in their mission, faith in their vision. And that faith being what some people might say is impossible, right?
Right.
Here's the deal. If you don't believe in you and what you're doing, no one else will, period. Yeah. So to me, faith, for me, Jesus Christ as my rock, as my provider, as my everything, to me, that faith informs my life and my business, right? So it informs my mindset, like my perspective, how I think, which for the entrepreneurial world, it's like, how do I see myself? What's my identity? What is my worth, right? Yeah. So in that way, faith informs like my pricing.
Right.
and how I show up on sales calls and my whole approach to sales. And also faith informs how I show up
Yeah.
confidently and consistently, right? Because I know that in Christ, I am powerful and I'm strong and I have a mission that has to get out there in the world. And he's gifted me with things that I need to share with others. Or am I going to not live in that faith and show up like timidly and inconsistently? So to me, faith is everything.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I love that you're sharing this. And I think for so many entrepreneurs, it's something, right? It's faith, or they have a spiritual component for them. Because the thing about entrepreneurship is you're really not going to create all of this risk and that is associated with having your own business unless it's something that you're deeply passionate about. And for so many people, that comes from a spiritual perspective. And it was really funny. I was sharing a little bit about my faith journey last week when I was on stage with my business partner, Kelly Roach. And for some, I just said, for some of you here, it's going to sound weird. And it just let it be weird. Like, it's okay that it sounds weird. Like, we think that somebody came to earth in human form that really was a human representation of God. And then, his body pieced out and no one knew where it went. Like, that's weird, right? And so that's okay. And that's where the faith comes in, right? And I think sometimes when people try to make it make sense and be logical and try to over-explain it instead of being like, listen, like, that is the definition of faith, then it becomes a little bit more relatable for people who maybe aren't thinking about it from that perspective.
Right. But you raise a really great point. I feel like in this world, and I'm not being critical or calling anybody out in a negative way, but it does seem in the world to accept that if I speak something to the universe,
yes,
that the universe will manifest it. Like, if I want it, I will have it. And for you and me, it's like, no, God through Jesus is in control.
Yes.
And so, to me, the universe thing sounds crazy. And then to them, the Jesus thing sounds crazy. But faith is really knowing, when it comes to entrepreneurship, that your success is inevitable.
Yes. Yeah.
Like knowing it before it happens. And so in Hebrews 11, it says faith is being sure of what we hope for and certain of what we do not see. And that's where that idea of take that leap of faith comes into play.
Yes. Yes. And I think what a lot of people don't often think about is that without that, if God was just to kind of say, here I am, here's your daily checklist, here's the calendar for you to follow, here's the career you should have, the offers you should make, and this is what the sales page should look like, we would have no free will. And a lot of people don't think about that. They just think like, well, if that's not that obvious, like maybe he doesn't care about me or maybe he doesn't exist. Whereas understanding that there's this free will component that I think is so important to business. And it was interesting, somebody in our community in the Advance, which you're in as well, had asked me yesterday, like, Laura, you've gone through a lot of transformation in a short period of time. Like, why do you think that is? And, I really said, I just think I learned how to I learned how to walk through the doors that God was opening for me. And a lot of times, like, for a long time, I was very hard-headed about that. Like, I had a plan and I wanted it to be this particular way. And as high achievers, I'm sure you can relate, many of the listeners can relate, that like you are rewarded in the world for executing on what it is that you want to accomplish. And I started learning that I needed to let go and let God a little bit more in my 40s. And it really has been remarkable. I mean, in a way that like I can't even explain. Like, so for you, I mean, you're a business strategist. Like, how do you kind of balance that let go and let God with also making sure that people have a strategic plan and that they're like, that there's a business sense of how they're going about things so that they don't drown as entrepreneurs?
Yes, I love this question. And I alluded to earlier that we can't compartmentalize faith from business. So the two components that I harp on when I work with clients is faith and strategy. Like, I'm a lawyer. I think like a lawyer.
Yeah.
I am very strategic and very logical in my thinking, which may sound funny when you bump that up against faith.
Yeah.
But the two meld beautifully because I know business through the law, both in the courtroom and in the boardroom. And then, it's so funny. I was remembering back my first job out of college, 22, I was managing a department in Macy's, a multi-million-dollar department dealing with major buyers in Manhattan. And so God allowed that experience, which does what? Inform me for what I do today. So the strategy piece is ginormous, but I'm going to take issue with something you said earlier. There is free will. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. But when I started to surrender, Lord, how does this look? When I said, Lord, I need to, come up with whatever it happens to be. Can you help me? It's not like I sit there and he downloads it like immediately. But I will tell you this, when I just allow him to tell me a lot of what I should be doing and what I maybe should stop doing, it's made my life a lot better and my business a lot more profitable and impactful for the ladies that I'm working with.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I love that. And I think when it comes to that, through this really powerful conversation that I had with somebody yesterday, I said, I just think I learned to go where the fruit was. I can't say that, some of it was just looking at things logically and seeing where I was being blessed and where the doors were closing or where I felt like I was still swimming upstream. And there was a lot of places in my life 5 years ago where I was swimming upstream, where I just felt like everything was a struggle. I had 2 little kids and in an industry that, the market size was shrinking drastically by the minute. And it just felt like everything was a fight and everything was a struggle. And I don't think that's what God wants for us.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
And he is the King of Peace. And so I always say now, like, go where the fruit is, go where the peace is. And that's the path that you're supposed to be down. And sometimes so much of what's in our head of how things are supposed to be or how they're supposed to work or how hard we're supposed to work to deserve something is so conditioned that you don't always know it. I think until you really grow into more of a mature entrepreneur over time.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that.
So I know you talk a lot about being compassionate and having a compassionate approach to sales and marketing. What are some of the ways in which you incorporate compassion into your daily, revenue activities?
Okay, great. Well, I'm about to say something that's pretty provocative, but it needs to be said. Selling is noble. It truly is. Yeah. Selling is presenting an opportunity to the right person, your ideal client, that could literally change their life or their business, right? We do important work. And so to me, this idea of caring and compassion, when you care enough to invite someone to work with you so that their life can be changed and transformed for the better, that's the most loving thing we could do, right? So like I analogize that to our faith as Christians, just real briefly. It's because I think it makes perfect sense. Yeah. We know that Jesus saves and gives eternal life. So the most loving thing I can do is to share that with others, and specifically how he changed me from not to get political, but from a diehard pro-choice to a loving, but 180 pro-life, like only the movement of the Lord. I will always be a women's advocate. I'm a feminist, okay, but Jesus is my Lord. And so it's changed a lot. So, one more point on this idea of compassion. People buy from people they trust.
Right.
So when you genuinely care for someone and you display that and you take the time to get to know them, and then you finally say, hey, this is a great fit and it feels good, your heart is felt by them.
Yeah.
And so trust is established. And that is when the sales conversation is actually going to be fun, not a drudgery. So it's huge. It's a huge part of it.
Yeah. I love how much you have incorporated this sense of authenticity into your business when you're selling, when you are thinking about strategy, when you're incorporating your faith. Was that something that came natural to you, or is it something that you felt like came over time as an entrepreneur?
That is a wonderful question. And I will say that for the first couple of years of my business, I struggled with that because Jesus was everything I was, but I didn't want to offend anybody. But as I studied my craft as a coach, and as I began working with high-powered women who, I was attracting people who were like me and were Christians. And then I thought, well, wait a minute. He can give us everything. Through him, we have the power to do anything, like Ephesians 3:20. By him, we can do all things. Like nothing's impossible, Matthew 19:26. So the point of what I'm saying is it was a struggle for me to finally say, stop fighting the person that God made me to be. Mm-hmm. He gave you this strong faith. He gave you, Judy, this experience in business. So don't think that the two can't be as one. And when I finally came to this place of peace, I love that word that you had said earlier, then everything is falling into place in so much quicker, and it feels great. And that is joy in business, when you are finally able to be exactly the person that God made you to be.
Yeah, I love that. So what do you think, in one word or one sentence, what do you think that commonality is between faith and business?
Golly. I think it comes down to belief and knowing.
Yeah. Without
faith, everything's going to fall apart.
Right.
It's too hard. Without faith in saying that this is going somewhere, that this really matters,
right,
you are not going to keep showing up. You are going to say, oh, my launch didn't go like I wanted, and I didn't get enough views on that live, or something like that. So it goes down to belief and knowing. And that is where the strategy and the faith and the business all come together.
Yeah, that's awesome. Love that. Well, thank you so much, Judy, for being here. Thank you for sharing your perspective. I loved connecting with you. And where can people find you if they want to say hello or learn a little bit more about you?
Thank you for that opportunity. I am pretty much everywhere on social at Judy Weber Co. at Judy Weber Co. I also have a new freebie, if I can kind of give a plug for that. It's the Ultimate Scaling Guide for proven strategies to, get those six-figure leaps in your business. So if you go to my website at judyweber.co, you can download that for free.
All right. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Judy, for being here. I love connecting with you and appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Laura, for the opportunity.
Hey there, before you head out, I want to let you know about a free new training I have right on a brand new website called yournextmillion.me. It's yournextmillion.me, where several of my seven-figure clients and colleagues share what they're doing in the next year to scale their businesses to the multi-million-dollar mark and beyond. And I have to tell you, it is not what you think. So check it out at yournextmillion.me. And if you loved this show, will you subscribe to it and share it with a friend, or just say something nice about it to someone you know? I'd really appreciate it so much. Thanks so much for being here, and I'll see you next time.